Wednesday, my dude.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. I'll tell you, looking at that intro with all of those different issues that we all used to chant and talk about and push the Democratic Party to pretend to care about, and nobody talks about any of them anymore. Like, they're just gone. No new wars, healthcare, universal pre-K.
Yeah.
Fuck.
It's like we gotta just update it for evil, lesser evil.
Yeah, like housing.
And I'm not letting you off.
Yeah, good.
I'm not letting you off the hook for what you tried to do to me before the show here.
What's that?
Lila loves to push my buttons on being late. She's like bringing up a whole new conversation with like 8 seconds to go on the show.
I like toying with your emotions. I think it's funny that you're so like anal about the 1 second we got it right there at 5. I'm just nervous that we might lose some people who are like, I didn't catch it at the very beginning and now I'll never catch up. I'll never understand the whole show.
Doug on YouTube has got us. Tell us what time the show started.
That's Doug. Right. That is right. We have and we have had this suggestion.
Does this count as started, or do we have to drop news? I haven't checked when he actually starts it.
I don't know, but Justin's already a little upset. 17 seconds off, but I think maybe he has some slow internet speed. And Saul has already made a request for tonight that it better be funny.
Well, we're gonna just show some videos then. I'm not gonna say a damn thing because
I
don't
mean,
have enough beer to be funny.
We are we'll find some fun, but god damn it, that's all I gotta say. God damn it. Okay, thank you to our wonderful pup heroes and sheroes. We so appreciate all of you guys for supporting our show. Thank you. We love and adore you. We love the retweets and the notes on YouTube, and all of that really means a lot to us. So thanks to all of you. We appreciate you so much. Cheers.
Absolutely.
I'm having my first
cheers.
Wine. What do you got there?
Cheersing you with Stank Pocket.
Okay, you're bringing the stank tonight?
Berryessa beer. It's a very weed smelling. I think that's what the stank probably is referring to. A cat that looks like a skunk, but it's delicious.
But doesn't have weed in it.
No.
Or it's not like, okay.
If you're ever in around Lake Berryessa, which is about half an hour from here, they have an awesome brewery to go to and hang out for the day. We usually with live music. It's in the country, nothing else around it. Very dog friendly, super chill place, amazing beer. Still not sponsoring me.
What? Go get that sponsorship. That's funny. Sorry about that. I'm sorry. All right. I am leaving early tomorrow morning to see my 2 boys. Stank Pocket was my street name.
That probably is it. Like a guy selling weed has got a stank pocket, or somebody's stuffing the weed in his pocket. That's the most isn't it?
Popular kid at my junior high.
Okay.
How long before the Lila is right versus Pat is right turns into exactly LOL or LMFAO. We should just have when we actually get to shoot this at a bar, we should have like a chalkboard there with a running tally.
Nice.
Wouldn't that be great?
I love that.
We could put in a request like Hexeth, where he gets his own makeup studio, but we could have our own bar with a chalkboard.
We need more money. People donate to our GoFundMe so we can make this dream happen. Or we're going to do socialism. We're going to do socialism.
We're going to do it. Yeah, everybody's invited. Okay, we are So I am leaving early tomorrow morning to go to Minnesota, see my boys, senior weekend for my older son, who is, yes, once again injured and isn't really able to play. I am so sad for him, but I can't wait to see him, love him, squeeze him, and Xander too. And Pat has his Warriors at 6:30. So yeah. And on that note, just wanted to let everybody know, so we will not have our regular shit show on this Sunday, but then we'll be back next Wednesday. So you'll have to just write down everything, all the shit that happens. I can't hear you.
Oh, Lila has chosen family again.
I know. I'm sorry. Although I think it would make those eugenicists in the White House happy that I'm choosing family. That's not really, they want everybody out at work. Okay, let's start. So, we have all sorts of different feelings about, oh yeah, you're right. Wait a second.
Wait a minute. Or do we cheers? No, we're going to drink today. Let's just spin the wheel.
Let's just have some
fun.
We'll get to cheers. No, and then we'll get to the cheers in a second. Okay.
We're just winging it today.
We're winging it.
Yeah, baby.
Well, no matter what, everyone should certainly, take a hit or fill your glass or do whatever you need to do.
Amen. This one's short and sweet, but I think might inspire. If you're going to quit your job, this is the way.
Why worry about yesterday's fuck-ups when you have tomorrow's fuck-ups to look forward to?
What the hell is this?
Guys, what is this? Guys, all of you out right now.
Jared, I'm here to tell you that I'm quitting.
I love that. Cheers to that guy. I hope he found something much better on the other side of that Jared job.
Yeah, let's hope he's not living in a car somewhere right now.
I know.
We need a follow-up.
That would be no follow-up. Just enjoy the moment. That's the whole point, is be present in that moment. Okay, so going back to the more traditional cheers is, we all have different feelings about religion and also possibly the Catholic religion. I don't want to say anything that's going to get me canceled. And this is in no way like an entire endorsement of the Pope or Catholicism or anything. But this Pope actually, did some pretty amazing things within the parameters of his vocation. I think he was more open-minded about gay rights. And I don't know what else, so I don't want to vouch for too much else. What I do know is he is one of the very few enormously public figures who has been vocal about Israel's genocide and the horrors that they are inflicting on Palestinians. And this was a little tribute to him, which was not mentioned in any Western paper or media, was that he was a real supporter of the people in Gaza.
Yusuf.
Buonasera Santo Padre.
Buonasera, come stai?
Sto bene, grazie a Dio. Mi scusa, è stato con la Santa Messa.
Ah, con la messa. E dimmi,
sì.
Cosa avete mangiato oggi?
Il pollo, le ali. Il resto del pollo?
El resto del pollo, la salita que trae Santo Padre. Lo que quedó del pollo de ayer.
Salam alaikum.
Este es Carlito.
Vos.
Aywa, vos el Baba. Aywa. Este es
Baba.
Baba.
Ieri il patriarca non lo hanno lasciato entrare a Gaza come avevano permesso. E ieri sono stati bombardati bambini. Questo è crudeltà, questo non è guerra. Voglio dirlo perché tocca al cuore.
البابا ايش اللي عمله ما حصلش يعني ما حصلش من رئيس دولة في العالم. اللي عمله لغزة واللي كان يسأل على غزة كل يوم وكل يوم اتصال ودعم مفتوح لغزة ولمسيحيين غزة لمسلمين غزة.
Ok, muchas gracias, Santo Padre. Muchas gracias, Santo Padre.
Grazie tante.
Santo Padre, ringraziare, pregare per lei, chiedere sempre prega per loro.
E prega a favore, non contro.
Sì, sì, grazie, Santo Padre.
A domani.
Grazie. A domani, Santo Padre.
A domani. Shukran. Shukran.
Santo Padre.
So, cheers to him. He did, he used his voice for good in terms of this horrific genocide. Listening to the Palestinian priests speak Italian, there's just something so beautiful about hearing both, because the Pope grew up speaking Spanish, I'm assuming, and they're speaking Italian all together. I don't know. There's just something so beautiful about it. And we could have a different world. So cheers to him and cheers.
Cheers. I mean, I do think that was beautiful. I appreciate what he did on Palestine, as as much as he's sort of a lesser evil to me. And I'm a very unreligious person and I don't like religion, but I respect everyone's right to. But for him to be as vocal as he is and to be such a figurehead of Catholicism specifically, and for that to go ignored so dramatically by our media in our allegedly Christian nation,
I mean,
is really astounding.
It is astounding. Biden put out, a picture of the two of them sitting across the table from each other and how much he respected him, just not on that one most horrific of decisions that Biden made every day for, a year and a half of his genocidal presidency. This is from Mondo Weiss, New York Times, Washington Post. There were mentions of his deep concern for the suffering of the Palestinian people in Gaza. In his last public message on Easter Sunday, just hours before he died, he had called for a ceasefire. And most obituaries also failed to note that Pope Francis had personally telephoned the Holy Family Church in Gaza just about every evening since Israel invaded the territory in October 2023, including the night before he passed.
And that's basically he's trying to keep them alive, because by protecting them this way, he had such a massive platform to call out had they bombed the church, and
then they still bombed the churches. But yes, I don't even know if this is the time to show some of the memes because it feels so disrespectful. But I do know that JD Vance, he didn't have like the official meeting with the Pope, but he was there and I think did meet with him. And listen, I know the Pope had COVID. I know that he had certain medical events that seem to have been precipitated by his COVID infection. So there were a few sort of satirical articles and ridiculous memes implying that JD Vance had killed the Pope. That's where we should leave that. All right.
Are you leaving it there? No, we're showing the memes. Okay. Come on, show the memes.
I mean, this is the only one we have is the fuck, marry, kill.
Okay.
The couch and JD Vance's wife, Usha, and the Pope from that game that we all love playing.
So we should play. No, let's not.
Oh my God. All right. Let's move on to, I mean, just the absolute horror show of the Trump administration, which seems to just keep doubling down on every horrific policy. And I don't know, they're on a crusade. They are absolutely on a crusade. I mean, let's start with the eugenics, since that's where we are. RFK Jr. last week, we played the clip of him talking about his wanting to explore the world of autism and how autistic people don't pay taxes. Seem to be his big issue. They don't pay taxes, and they don't play baseball or write poetry, never go out on a date. Many of them will never use a toilet unassisted. That was last week. And there was no corrections from the White House or the head of DOJ, who is, I mean, like a repulsive man in every level, except that also, like, Elon Musk is autistic. And like, there's no, like, obviously has children, has dates, probably doesn't pay taxes, has nothing to do with being autistic. I don't know if he can play sports, but like, what a disgusting statement to have made in the first place. And there was no pushback from anybody, not even on, I mean, did you hear any Democrats pushing back on that at all?
No, I did hear, and kudos, this is where, with Trump in power, you get NPR being left a little bit, but they had people on speaking from the autistic position, a couple autistic people, and how it felt to their community. And obviously they wanted to make 2 points. One, what he said doesn't affect most people that are autistic on any level. And two, even if it does affect, if there are these people that can't write a poem or pay taxes, does that mean their life is invaluable? That was the bulk of the criticism, obviously. But what it leans into next is even the worst part, because this is where we start with the worst of society, the worst policy.
Yeah. And by the way, like, if we want to talk about what it means to be a productive member of society, I think we should all have a vote on that, because pretty much no one in that administration or in the Democratic Party is leading a life that I would call being a productive member of society. So, RFK Jr. can use whatever criteria, disgusting as it is, as he wants, but he's just so vile. So now they're stepping it up a little bit. This is his next level, the disease registry he wants to put together.
And these are a broad category, the ones that Marty mentioned, like ADHD, the neurological disorders, ADD, ADHD, speech delay, language delay, tics, Tourette syndrome, narcolepsy, ASD, and autism. All of these are injuries that I never heard of when I was a kid. They were not part of the nomenclature. They weren't part of the dialogue. There was zero spent in this country treating chronic disease when my uncle was president. Today it's about $1.8 trillion annually. It's bankrupting our nation. 74% of American kids cannot qualify for military service. How are we going to maintain our global leadership with such a sick population? We have all these autoimmune diseases, these exotic diseases. And again, I never heard of juvenile diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, Crohn's disease, and 100 others that were just unknown when I was a kid.
First of all, that's not even accurate. It's a lie.
Yeah.
And of course, he comes from like a disgusting eugenicist family that lobotomized his aunt, right? They gave her a lobotomy because she was different. So yeah, I mean, it's like saying like, oh, nobody has COVID anymore because we're not collecting data. If you don't take your child to try to find a diagnosis for what's going on, and you're just like, ew, and then you send them to get a lobotomy and to an insane asylum, then you can be like, yeah, no, this is all new. It's all so new.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was going to say, is that, look, they had society treated anyone who had something abnormal or not atypical as a disease and a problem. And they locked these people up and they lobotomized these people. And they did all these tragic things during the time when he's like, we didn't hear about ADHD. Well, what if you just took all those ADHD people and gave them electrotherapy until they were eventually got their lobotomy completely? And, you know, so that's
and you hand them off to an orphanage. If you don't see it, does it exist if you don't see it? Right? Like, I mean, it's just so inaccurate, and it's just such a vile sentiment. And
the piece that's obvious that you said, I think, but just to make sure we say it, the studies that look at these, if there's a growth in these diseases, for the vast majority of them show it really hasn't changed. It really has not changed. It's just that we are studying this. We have methods to track.
We used to have more data.
We gave a label to the thing.
Yeah,
you know, all these things are modernizing. It's not like, hey, everyone's eating this chemical now, and that's why everybody has this, you know, autism or something.
Absolutely.
Like, or vaccines, or, you know.
Yeah, you know, we had different words for it, and not we necessarily, like, but like people were not as sensitive to differences maybe when we were growing up, but like there have always been different types of people. We're all different. And now we are starting to kind of hone in on different labels or diagnoses. The part of this that is horrible, in addition to his vile, you know, willingness to just like disregard so much of the population, mostly because they don't pay taxes and they can't join the military, is that there is another aspect to it that he was talking about, but never seems to be the focus of his endeavors, which is, let's get the shit out of our food. Let's get the poisons out of our air. Let's get the carcinogens out of our soil and the lead out of our water. Like all of that, that's great. That's not happening. He's like, none of that's happening.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is some of that is going to happen, and is happening a little bit, you know, like the food dye stuff, and they're changing happening? Some of that stuff. Yeah, they just came out with some of that today, but look, that's all. A lot of it is cover for wacko conspiracy theories,
right?
And they let this guy run because he benefits the establishment by all the eugenics, downplaying the people who can't pay taxes or serve the military, you know, and just, you know, this alpha society of like, you know, men are big, strong, women frail, you know, less smart,
baby
work
makers.
At home, take care of the family.
Baby makers. Yeah,
exactly. So it fits their whole dynamic in MAGA. It's the bully, you know, that's the whole thing they thrive off of. And, you know, if he really leans into cleaning up chemicals, he's going to get kicked off immediately. Like the second he goes into like anything about the oil and the leaching of toxins into the soil, he's gone.
I mean, they're already, you know, there's been this whole thing that they will no longer, we had everything sort of very well. Okay. Yeah. The FDA testing, right? So the FDA just said, the milk, that they will no longer do a quality control program for testing milk and other dairy products. The agency is citing reduced capacity. It has 20,000 fewer employees as a result of the DOGE cuts under Trump and Musk. The FDA this month also suspended existing and developing programs that ensured accurate testing for bird flu in milk and cheese and pathogens like the parasite, I'm going to say this wrong, cyclospora, and other food products. So exactly, you know, what you're saying, that if it at all interferes with business continuing to pat its pockets off of our disability and deaths, it's not going to make a big appearance. I saw a lot of sort of like big blue check lib accounts tweeting this out. An E. coli outbreak tied to romaine lettuce affected 89 people and killed 1, but the FDA did not warn the public or name the source, which is disgusting. And a lot of, you know, liberals.
COVID?
were really upset and like, look at this administration, look what they're doing, because these people didn't bother to read the article in which we find out that this happened in November, where it ripped across 15 states, sickening dozens of people, including a 9-year-old boy in Indiana who nearly died of kidney failure and a 57-year-old Missouri woman who fell ill after attending a funeral lunch. One person died.
Well, that's why the leftist plan is all this. What do you call it? The excess. Why do I always have a brain fart on the name that the left strategy? You know what I'm talking about.
The acceleration stuff? No. What?
No.
Sorry.
Oh my God.
I'm normally better at reading
the theory that we have excess, so we have to deregulate.
Oh, abundance. Yeah.
Abundance. I cannot get that word in my brain for some reason. But that's their same version. It's deregulation. And what they're doing right now is severe, but it's amplified what Democrats were already pushing.
Yep.
So right now, they didn't, with all these budget cuts with Doge, they are pretending that they're not cutting public safety for food, like for stuff that comes abroad, right? Comes from overseas to the US, because they didn't cut any agents. But they cut like the travel people that set up all the appointments for these agents. And these people need to set up appointments, and it takes like 2 weeks to clear passports and have appointments with people when you get there. So they just basically can't do their job half as efficiently as they used to be able to because you cut them. So yeah, you didn't cut any inspectors for food, but you made their life hell, and they can get to checking about a third of the food they used to check, which is perfect. To the establishment. That's what they want. Less regulation.
That's what Republicans always do. Republicans always gut funding for government divisions, and then they don't work well. And then everybody's like, God, the government sucks. And so they get exactly what they want, which is all they care about is their big tax cuts. And, for people who hate the government so much, they love seeking office to guarantee themselves some sweet, sweet cash from all of these cretins. So now he's also, even though the link between vaccines and autism has been completely debunked, and they've removed mercury from childhood vaccines, they also changed the scheduling so that there are certain vaccines that you don't get together. They've kind of spaced them out in a different way. And the original doctor, I think he was actually a doctor, but was completely disgraced because he fudged. This was like in the beginning of 2000, I think. No, for autism. This was the doctor, Wakefield, was that his name? In England, it was found that he was, changing the data. Like his studies were complete bunk. But now here comes RFK Jr., who again wants to do a vaccine study about autism. And this is the head of his vaccine study is David Geyer, not a physician. He gave autistic children a dangerous, unapproved drug and improperly prescribed puberty blockers. And he wants to be working with his father. So David Geyer is not a physician, only has a bachelor's degree, but he was illegally practicing medicine with his father. And this is who is now going to lead the charge on trying to make this connection, which like dozens and dozens of enormous studies have proven doesn't exist between vaccines and autism.
And to simplify this, look, who did test studies on the vulnerable people in society? The Nazis. This is straight up Nazi shit. We are there. You got a guy appointed who's going to do, they're already downplaying people with autism is not equal. You're bringing in the guy who did illegal tests on autistic people.
Yep.
So this is not good at all. This is clearly.
It's horrifying. And again, it's the thing like, so, okay, with the talking about all the different diseases that he never heard of, lupus, Crohn's, diabetes, like whatever that he never heard of. And then he uses the poisons in our food and our environment as a soft cover for his eugenics. The other thing that the Trump administration is doing right now is suggesting this baby bonus because so they're talking about possibly a $5,000 baby bonus for moms in a bid to reverse declining birth rates. One proposal shared with AIDS would reserve 30% of scholarships for the Fulbright program, the prestigious government-backed international fellowship for applicants who are married or have children. Another would give a $5,000 cash baby bonus to every American mother after delivery. A third calls on the government to fund programs that educate women on their menstrual cycles, in part so they can better understand when they are ovulating and able to conceive. So, part of that, I think the left would like a universal, and it shouldn't just be for people with babies, like a universal basic income. And yes, then when you have a child, we need really good child care. We need, higher wages. We need universal health care. That could be the path to all of that, or like one measure in an enormous list that the left would like to make everybody feel happier in society, more hopeful, and as if they might be able actually to have children. This isn't that. This is like the dystopian, Handmaid's Tale version of that.
I mean, when you look at how expensive having a baby is, this is like a diaper coupon.
Yeah, exactly.
And then daycare, when you have the kid, how much is daycare going to cost you? I mean, I guess in Handmaid's Tale, you're supposed to stay home and raise the kid, so that's not relevant.
Oh, no, you just give it off to the lady who's your mistress, and then they put you off in the colonies.
Yeah.
I'm only in season 2. Don't spoil anything from the good.
But I mean, that's $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a year is what daycare costs these days.
Yes.
So hey, quick, have a baby. Okay, well, now what? Who's going to help me? Oh, we cut the child tax credit. There's no social safety net. Your man should be doing better.
And how about all the products that you need? You need a stroller. You need a car seat. You know where they come from? China. And they're fucking expensive even before all these tariffs. We don't make anything here anymore. All of the good products, and you need them. It's not like, a luxury. They won't let you leave the hospital unless they come out and they make sure that your car seat is safely, fastened in there. And you're not even allowed, unless it's changed. It's now been a while since I had my kids, but 15 years ago when I was trying to get rid of all of our gear, you're not allowed to donate them because, well, at least back then, maybe there's a difference now, but there were safety standards that change. It's like, parents who are like, oh, in my day, you guys could sit in the front and we didn't use seatbelts and all that kind of bullshit. There were safety standards that kept being ameliorated. And so you weren't allowed to, you basically can't do secondhand baby gear. So yeah.
Can I tell you why I'm an expert in this field?
Tell me.
One of my first jobs was at Sears, and I was the child clothing / baby stuff seller.
All right.
So I would be advising. I was like 16 or something, about 4'0", giving parents advice and
they must have loved that.
Baby
the best
seats.
Stroller. Yeah, that's really funny. But yeah, so again, it's like the tariffs where it's like, we're going to bring all the production back here, which has been an enormous failure, which we'll talk about in a second. But if it doesn't come with a broader plan, how to help people feel like they want to have children in this world that they are obliterating. That $5,000 is that's your deductible for having a baby at the hospital.
When you're telling me I got to start paying on my $150,000 of student loans and you're giving me $5,000 for a baby, I'm not thinking about the baby. So just,
Yeah, exactly. All right. So that's the baby bonus. I just want to see if we have a video about anything with that, because then we can just move right on to, just because, what's Dr. Oz's new title? He was just put in there.
Is he at NIH?
I think he might be. Well, okay. This is a really quick one with, who cares about RFK talking about fertility? He's a moron. He just talks. This is Dr. Oz somewhere in health, thanks Oprah, talking about people's right to healthcare.
Now, when you go home today, what should you do? I think you ought to think about 15-minute physicals. Your local hospitals will fund these. They're incredibly inexpensive to run. You can screen thousands of people for almost nothing, and you allow a conversation to take place in more of a festival-like setting. It's not scary. And I mentioned earlier that almost everybody who comes to our 50-minute physicals has a job, but a lot don't have insurance. Give them a way of crawling back out of the abyss of darkness, of fear over not having the health they need, and give them an opportunity, because they don't have the right to health, but they have the right to access, a chance to get that health.
You don't have a right to health.
Hey, you can't afford any of this insurance, but if you get like 10 minutes of what having a doctor looks like, you might think about spending all this money on insurance. And the diagnosis you're going to get from these people, you can't afford to fix. And there's no, like, what? Like,
exactly. Yep. Where, like, the cancer drugs, remember that big moonshot, Biden's moonshot? Yeah, none of this, like, also, like, what do you say? You don't have a right to health. I mean, maybe he even meant to say health care, but like, I know obviously nobody in power really thinks that we have a right to health care, clearly. But like, where in their brain, like, when you want a working society, because basically the reason that they want women to make more babies is twofold. One, there's just like the white supremacy part of it, and they're freaking out that it's only Black and brown people who are reproducing their numbers worldwide. Like, that's true worldwide, right? And that freaks out the white supremacist people. But the other thing is they want workers. They need workers, right? So if you're not consumers, they seem really way less concerned about that, because they just buy and sell each other's stocks and everything. Because yeah, I mean, nobody has money to buy anything now. The only people who can buy anything are the super wealthy. Everybody else is barely getting by if they're lucky. So they've lost that whole index of revenue for themselves. It's all just like, they're just all self-dealing and doing, stock buyouts and everything. But like, if you need workers, this is the part that I don't understand. And even like when The Economist or the magazine or journal or Larry Sullivan, like some of the like worst people in the world, are saying, because of COVID and long COVID, this is going to be a $16-20 trillion problem for the US. We will no longer have a workforce. They said that 2 years ago. I'm kind of shocked that people who like are all just about their own bottom line aren't a little bit more cognizant of what they're doing with all of this.
Yeah, I mean, this have a baby thing is a long-term, like, hey, we need more people, but ultimately they don't care about what life looks like for all these people. They're just employees. Right. So if you bring 100 people into the world, you're going to get 20 less employees than if you bring 120 or 150 people into the world.
Right.
And that's it. They don't care about anything else. Like, just, you need more people. That's going to drive down wages too. The higher, it's
right. It's such a deep sickness. And again, like, I am not hearing any pushback from the party of opposition at all. But they didn't push back when Biden completely ignored the growing, issue of the bird flu epidemic and all of like the egg crisis and having to kill all of these chickens and cows who were infected. And by the way, you know where vaccines come from? A lot of them, you need chicken eggs. Like,
you need chicken eggs, and that's where the vaccines come from. And also, where does bird flu spread from? It spreads from milk, and we're deregulating milk.
We're not going to test it. Drink it
raw. Test milk anymore. And with COVID, Biden was a case study for capitalism, that they can get us to believe anything in society. Like, we are so beholden to our next paycheck and normalization, and we have such little to live for in a large way that they can get us to ignore a fucking black plague.
Yeah.
And so once he did that, like, if this thing's less than COVID, well, it's not as big a deal as COVID. So Biden let COVID go, so Trump can let bird flu spread, and kids can all get the measles again. And
I mean, just because we haven't really talked about it in a few weeks, and I know that we have an abbreviated show, and when we get to Bill Maher, that's probably going to take some time. So, the thing with COVID now, the one possible positive is that Osterholm, who's in the administration, is a supporter of Novavax, which I think seems to be
it looks like it's going to be
effective. So, yeah. So
get approved for the next level.
Great. Whatever. So new cases every week, 83,000, new deaths. And of course, this doesn't even take into account all the various downstream effects of repeated COVID infections, such as your brain size. A huge study just showed that people who have had COVID have decreased brain size, smaller brains than people who have somehow not been effective. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say there's a new study showing that driving after having had COVID is equivalent to drunk driving.
Yeah. But they showed that
25%.
I'm sorry, but you and I shared that data. There was that data back in 2021. I don't know.
No, dude, I live with it every day, seeing my boss drive around.
Yeah. And
every day I'm like, that's COVID. That's why he's fucking
studies on pilots who have mass brain fog. This is all having effects, and nobody talks about COVID anymore. It's just like it's over, and yet it's not. Between childhood 18 and 44. I just saw this study. No, sorry, because I just texted it to myself right before we went on, that I feel like since we're going to be off for a week, I just want to make sure that we all hear it. Heart attacks are affecting young people aged 18 to 44. Look at that with my brain. Increased by 66% between 2019 and 2023.
I wonder what was that period? What did we go through during that? I don't know. Could have been anything.
This is what really is so sad, is they are going to start probably doing a risk-based COVID vaccination, pretending like we're not all at risk. They're going to make us have to jump through hoops to protect ourselves.
And we're not just talking about us. We're talking about all the kids in America going to school in a petri dish of COVID and RSV and measles and all this stuff. And you're just going to say, well, only the wealthy, because that's what these things end up with. Only
get
people
air
can
ventilation.
afford it,
yeah,
get it covered, or can afford it. But
yeah.
Study after study shows this is devastating to kids, long term. We just don't know the long term, they all get cancer in 10 years.
And by the way, pediatric oncologists are already talking about how they have seen more pediatric cancer patients in the past year than they had in their previous 4 decades of practice, right?
Yeah. Can we get these fuckers in government and in health to say, okay, if it's at this number, that's too much, because we're just normalizing every worst case scenario we ever envisioned with COVID happening, and nobody is doing shit about it.
There's RFK saying, I never heard about diabetes when I was a kid. Yeah, well, these doctors didn't see childhood cancers at this rate when you were a kid.
Yeah, and also you were never a doctor, you dumb fuck. So, maybe the doctors knew something about diabetes.
And once again, another hospital and another study showing that HEPA ventilation wipes the COVID virus out by 98%. So that's a fix. Because there are a lot of people who are like, what do you want? Should we just all mask forever? I don't know. I mean, I wear a seatbelt every time I go in the car, but okay, whatever. It's too hard for you to mask indoors. It's not that hard for me, but okay. But HEPA filters everywhere. We could clean the air the way we used to pretend we cleaned our water supply. But that would be a fix.
And everybody probably knows this stuff, but the basics of why HEPA works is COVID gets in your lungs and there's no CO2 to kill it. Like
the virus,
COVID can't survive out in the air. So if you're in some place with poor ventilation, the air up in the around you in this small room is basically stuff from people's lungs more than the open air outside. If you're in the open air outside, it would kill the virus. Well, HEPA does that on its own. It refreshes that air it replaces your lung oxygen everyone's breathing with actual fucking oxygen. It's not a conspiracy. It's not like some crazy science thing. They've known this shit for fucking 100 years.
Yeah. Yep. And as you mentioned at the beginning of the part on COVID, wealthy people are doing this in their kids' classes at the private schools. So we are in a caste system that is just out in the open very clearly. And we've known this, right? Like your public education changes depending on which zip code you're in. You know, Beverly Hills High, it's public schools, but like you have to have $6 million for a house there, right? So like their public schools are really good. And that should never be the determining factor. Of course, that's what it is. But like all of these investments early on in a holistic way would change our whole society. All right.
And there's no reason not to do it. The cost savings benefit, all these economists pointed out from the beginning, like it's the harm to society. Like you're talking about giving out $5,000 to have more people, right? Well, you save so much money by not giving everybody fucking disabling long COVID. You want a workforce? That's how you keep a workforce. You just put in air filtration systems and say at the minimum at hospitals, we wear a fucking mask. Like, is that crazy at a hospital where there's fucking the Black Plague floating around you all day? Like, are we a society that doesn't care about the Black Plague floating around you?
I just want to see you smile, Pat.
Like,
take that mask down. I want to see your smile.
Yeah, you want to see me stab you in the eye? Sorry.
I get my hair done twice a year because it's so crazy expensive, but I was there about 4 months ago and I'm the only person who wears a mask. So the guy who does me always puts a mask on, like whatever. Anyway. And the woman coming in after walks in, she sees him with a mask. She's like, "Are you sick?" I'm like, wait, what? No, I don't, he doesn't care about, I don't want to get sick. That's why I'm wearing a mask. I'm not sick. Like,
oh, society has definitely pivoted to, they see a mask, they think you're sick. Like, I think that's changed in the last year or so a lot. Like a lot of people are just gone, but
yeah. All right, let's spin because we should get to our worst of the week because God, there's so much, Pat. We should just come back after the Warriors win. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, baby.
Worst of the week. What do we got?
Look at that, just in time.
Perfect.
All right, I'm spinning again. Up. One second. I got it. It takes forever for that to go. Okay.
Yeah, baby.
Oh, all right, fill it up high. Do a puppet. Let's do a puppet.
Puppets?
I feel the double. Yeah.
All right. Well, you knew I was going to show that.
A hodgepodge. You had to show it. You had to show that. All right. Should we? God, there's so much. Like, we're going to just skip over a million things. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, head wherever you want to head. We should get to Bill Maher's bullshit.
All right. But maybe should we save a little time for all the other crazy stuff going on? Or should we give ourselves 15 minutes to cover everything else and then go to Bill Maher for the rest?
Do it. Make it happen.
Just really quickly, because there's a lot. I'm putting my glasses on.
I won't say anything. I won't say a single word.
No, yes, you will. Okay, we got to keep finishing with the disgusting administration happening right now. We already talked about Hegseth getting his own makeup studio, whatever. He's gross. We can't stand him. Let's talk about the economy. Let's just remind ourselves 19 of the richest U.S. households got $1 trillion last year. 19. Just so we know. The tariffs are, of course, as we knew, driving thousands of layoffs at U.S. manufacturing plants. Trump said the plan was to increase manufacturing. Not happening. He just gave a press conference where he's waffled back and forth so many times. Oh, 145% tariffs on China. Seems kind of high. No, we're going to figure it out. It doesn't matter. Nobody is going to invest in this country, including manufacturers who live in this country, because then tomorrow Trump says another thing. He said he wasn't going to waffle on that. He said, it's like apparently Peter Navarro, who was a, huge proponent of the tariffs, they had to get him out of the office to then compose a tweet to change the tariffs back down to 10% and say that there's negotiation, ability to use that just as a tool to negotiate. It's such a shit show. Who would ever invest long-term in any of this?
Well, and what happened is they had a meeting yesterday where Walmart and a lot of the other big players that import, their whole business thrives on China. Yep. They had a meeting with the president where I'm going to tell you what happened that wasn't on tape. Was we're going to have you murdered happened in his ear by somebody in that group, and they mean it because they are
that's all they care about. They kill their grandmother
trillions, and their entire businesses are on the line over this. And there was no doubt he was going to have to step back from China, but he's already done a ton of damage. And if he lands this tariff at 25%, even like we don't deal with 25% tariffs in our economy. We deal with like 2%, 3%, 4%. So, and the supply chain is already severely fucked up right now. But because of the instability, like they took products in China and that sold for $100, and they were built already by somebody paid here for $100 for that product that we're going to sell in America. And they said, okay, give us $145 and we'll put it on the shipping container for you. And they just stacked up because these people can't afford to pay and they're waiting to see what happens. And so all that limbo means all those products are not going to come in because there's still only so many shipping containers. And so the small guys with their products,
most of them were created by China. So that's also is actually posing some confusion. And the imports have decreased, as we showed, I think last week, but it's like a steep cliff. Nobody is bringing anything here and nobody wants anything from us. Zainab, I'm sure that was the trillions going to the 19 households. I will just warn you that when I said something about, and I did it in this sort of language, like a little opaque 1700s French, I got permanently banned from Twitter for, it ended up being 3 weeks or something, but they do not like it when we talk about revolution. Okay. And all we make are weapons. And did you see China's no longer accepting Boeing planes, which is, listen,
we've already lost the trade war.
Over.
We lost. So we're basically in the worst negotiating position ever. And we got the guy in charge who doesn't understand that at all.
He's like punching himself. He's like negotiating with himself. He just keeps, knocking himself out. And then, this is also it's just so gross because Treasury Secretary Bessent was in a closed door event. I think this is what you were talking about yesterday, telling all of these, CEOs that the next steps with China, it's not going to last. We're going to be a de-escalating all of this. But then they all go and, then the market goes up and then they invest again when everything has plummeted, right? So they will be making bank. In the end, even though they're freaking out, they're just going to fire workers. They sold all their stock right before, and now they're just scooping everything back up when it plummeted even further. It is truly a fire sale. Oh, there went Pat. All right, I'm going to keep talking. Stellantis executives announced a $2.2 billion dividend payout to shareholders less than 2 weeks after they insisted that tariffs meant the company had to lay off 900 workers. This is from The Lever, Dave Sirota. Automaker pays off Wall Street after using Trump tariffs to cut jobs.
This is fine. This is fine.
This is fine. Okay, so the economy sucks. It's horrific. No, plan to do anything to actually bring manufacturing back, to invest in our citizens, to help offload some of the economic despair that people are going through right now when prices have gone through the roof and nobody's salaries have gone up. When
we bring manufacturing back, this is the problem. We don't really want manufacturing back as a society right now, because it's going to be robotics. Like everything if we finance manufacturing again in the US, it's robotics. It's 20, 30 jobs. If you can convince me we can have some real jobs here, sure. Yeah. But I'm
not really convinced by what you're saying, because I think that we do still need people right now. It has not been completely offset. What I do know is a majority of the manufacturing jobs that returned even under the CHIPS Act went to right-to-work states. So there's nothing great about just being a factory worker. The reason that for a short period of time, it became like the greatest generation is factory workers were unionized. They had healthcare, they had benefits, right? Yeah, there's no talk about that.
But we're not talking about protecting an industry that exists already. So we're talking about creating a new industry. And if you think that new industry is going to be created by our capitalist captured society that is going to provide any meaningful way that there are jobs for people versus the damage it's going to do to our own society, it's not going to happen. Yeah. Robotics is there already to replace. You're not going to invest a new startup in, regular workers knitting shit.
Right.
This is not a reality. And we have to fight for something different than manufacturing back. It's just save what we have, fight for the existing manufacturing, but these new industries, we don't want them back. The world is better without them back in the US.
Okay. I understand.
Because sorry, I just want to caveat. Only because we cannot, there's no way in our society with our government as it is that we're going to make these jobs fulfilling and not absolute shit. And there's no way they're going to build these things without being terrible and completely robotic. And
I guess that's
just,
on some level, we're sort of saying similar, we are both having the same issue, which is none of this happens without a holistic approach to what we want our society to look like, right? Like, do you want everything? People were told forever that freedom meant being able to buy stuff cheap. Walmart, that's your freedom. Then it was Amazon, right? And people, pull yourself up from your bootstraps and you can have a flat screen TV, but you're going to be, working 80 hours a week with 2 jobs. You're never going to be able to afford a house. You don't get vacation. You don't get healthcare. You don't get sick pay. But there was a trade-off that for a while, when people are so overworked and so tired and sad and desperate and sort of hopeless, I think there was a willingness to believe that. It's not there anymore. So there has to be, again, it has to be like an enormous movement led by somebody with a brain, not the people in the halls of power now, but where it's like, it doesn't, like, it's not about like, can you buy a new thing? No, it's like, there is something lovely about your handmade ceramic piece that, yes, it costs more than the melamine shit that you get at Target, but you keep it forever. And but there's no, it's like a different philosophy, and there's just no push for that. Nobody's talking about how we could not be a consumeristic society anymore.
Yeah, and the happiest look, the idea that we have to keep growing 3% GDP every year or we're in a recession, that needs to change. What we have to frame it around: how many people have jobs, how much healthcare, housing. We need a new contract that is only going to happen with us forcing it the fuck on them. Yeah. And if you think the new contract's going to be saved by, we got all these companies that made stuff over in China making it here now, there's no way those contracts come to America again in this capitalist society and are not just absolutely fucking horrible for workers. So fighting for that isn't what we should be fighting for. We have to fight for the contract. We have to fight for workers' rights and all that other stuff, because this fantasy of just like, well, now we have to make shoes in America because China can't do it as cheap.
Yeah.
It's no. I mean, it's going to take 2 years to set up these factories, and they're going to be 99.99% robotic.
Yeah, we're fucked. All right, moving on to free speech, which this is supposed to be the free speech administration. Marco Rubio, Department of State, says we are now protecting and championing free speech at the State Department. Freedom of speech and expression have been I'm going to have to get really close a cornerstone of what it means to be an American citizen. For centuries, the United States served as a beacon of hope for millions of people around the world. Over the last decade, though, individuals in America have been slandered, fired, charged, and even jailed for simply voicing their opinion. This is not an America our founding fathers would recognize. And this is the first act. He tells employees to report on one another for anti-Christian bias, which, as we all know, is a huge issue in this country. If you say happy holidays instead of Merry Christmas. It is
literally nobody gives a fuck. I'm very atheist. Go nuts with your Merry Christmas.
Happy
Wear a
Easter,
Jesus pin.
The fuck. Yeah, I mean,
nobody cares who's not religious, but they don't want you to force it on them. That's all. But wearing it is not forcing it on it. Wearing a shirt that says Black Lives Matter is not forcing Black Lives Matter on it. And that's
exactly what it is. It has nothing to do. What they have decided is that a Christian nation does not support Palestine, does not support Black lives, does not support the gay, lesbian, bisexual, queer, transgender community. And if you see any of those things, that can be really upsetting, and you can report on it.
It's a good thing the Pope is gone, because they'd have to report him if he was in America.
Well, he wasn't a real Christian, according to Rubio. In the reporting, they say that the cable encourages State Department employees to report on one another through a tip form that can be anonymous. I mean, right? It's and now like the
straight from Nazi Germany.
This is right. Taking away grants, and NIH will no longer give grants to anybody who basically is anti-US, which is anti-Christian, which is anti-genocide of Palestinians. So that's unfortunate. If you cared about any research oh my God, or science on any level. The other big thing before we get to, go ahead.
Well, no, but what that points out is the legacy of this is from Democrats co-signing the anti-BDS legislation.
Right.
Democrats are the ones that are like, oh, boycotts, you can't boycott certain shit. And that's the certain shit. We just got it. You you lobbed it up there for the Republicans.
Yep. Which, just like the FDA not testing milk, we were silent. Not we. Why I keep saying that. I'm not a Democrat. Like
there's no
years.
COVID if you don't test for COVID.
Yeah, there's no COVID. There's no bird flu.
And then we did it. The Democrats did it immediately.
Yep. But exactly what you're saying. So the new report came out. American Jews faced, this is New York Post, obviously, enormous grain of salt, faced a record 25 anti-Semitic incidents per day last year, more than one per hour, with most related to hatred of Israel, which with a bipartisan support, they are trying to push this definition, the International Holocaust Remembrance Association definition of anti-Semitism that conflates talking about Israel and being critical of Israel as being anti-Semitic. There is a whole map here of all the big instances. By the way, just take a look. The biggest places where there was anti-Semitism were California and New York. And this is from the ADL report, a record-breaking 9,354 incidents of anti-Semitic assault, harassment, and vandalism across the country in 2024. That's a 5% increase from 2023 and a 344% increase over the past 5 years. But let us not forget, people who are, this is like the left Zionist magazine, but they're still Zionists. So people who are like more right-wing in Zionism dismiss the forward anyway, even though most of us would dismiss the forward from the left. But the ADL changed their criteria. And for the first time, this was last year in a report from the forward, the ADL has logged rallies as an anti-Semitic incident simply if a chant like "from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free" is heard. And so Ben Lorber shows on the left there, here's one block of nearly 20 anti-Semitic incidents in their data, all from one afternoon in December. And it is all Zionism is white settler colonialism, respect existence or expect resistance. From the river to the sea, when people are occupied, resistance is justified. Those are the charges of anti-Semitism they are now scooping up to buttress their cause, to make it seem like it's some epidemic in this country, which it is not.
It is not, and it's like the woke left is never going to be anti-Semitic because the woke left is very trained on being sensitive to language. And these rallies are so much more organized than they were 5 years ago. The people in charge of these shut down any bullshit. So there is none of the things they label as none of the things that are anti-Semitism are allowed whatsoever at any rally anywhere.
They aren't. And the two people from Colombia who have had the most, and by the way, I'm sorry, but I'm kind of over the whole like Van Hollen going to El Salvador to meet with, I know this is different from the anti-Semitism thing, but like, the guy whose name I now motion from Colombia, who's the Buddhist, he was the head of the Buddhism Society at Columbia, who was going, he thought, to his appointment for immigration or his visa, I'm not entirely sure, in Vermont. But like all these senators who keep making these visits, Senator Welch from Vermont, I guess, but with no result. And then it just kind of becomes like a blip and a media moment. And then I get fundraising emails and texts. And for Van Hollen, and again, sorry, because I know this is different. This is for Kilmar Abreu Garcia, who, he was not deported because of pro-Palestinian protesting, just simply because he has brown skin. But like when Van Hollen said last week, like his only goal was to make sure he got to meet with Kilmar Garcia. And we talked about it in our last episode. Like, that's your goal. Like that's your goal. I don't know. Right. It feels like another sort of like, kneeling in your kente cloth moment.
Yeah. I want to shake his hand. Okay, well, do something. Get him out. I want to meet with the guy holding him and put some stipulations on. We need assurances that X, Y, Z are happening, and that kind of stuff. You can't even go there. I mean,
nothing. Like we haven't heard from Van Hollen this past week, or at least I haven't. But like that was a huge moment. He went down there and whatever. Like, what's happening? What's happening? And Welch went, and it was like this lovely interview with the Buddhist graduate student from Columbia who's in Vermont now in an ICE detention center, having done nothing wrong. And he says, well, this is democracy. I am getting the what's it called? The due process as they review the charges against me. But no, like none of this should be happening. And we are not seeing anything like this happening to Jews in this country. The people we have seen be battered and killed, shot at in this country since October 7th have been Palestinian Americans. And by the way, 3 tourists who were Arab Israeli Jews in Florida who the crazy Zionist Jewish American guy shot at because he thought they were Palestinian, but they were actually Arab Israeli Jews. So that, I guess you could, I wonder if that's in the ADL report. Those 3 Jewish tourists who were shot at by the Jewish guy who thought they were just Palestinian.
I'm going to say no, it didn't make the list.
Yeah, bet it didn't make the list.
Did not make the list.
Okay. We said 50 minutes. Look at me with the time management, Pat.
Oh, we get to spin again before we get to...
I feel like it, right?
Yeah, do it.
Just in
more. I
get it. Time. Okay, but wait, I have to spin again cheers. Before... Yeah, cheers. Wait, sorry. Gotta go. Do it. Okay. And...
Yeah, baby.
No, wait. All right, Pat. What the fuck? Really? Just do it again? All right. One second. Here we go. I should, remove. You know what? I'll remove it.
Yeah, baby.
We just you. Cats or the naughty dogs and truth?
Either one you want is great. And Zainab, thank you. I hate that we're not giving as much attention to everything that we should be, but thank you for saying that. Okay.
On that note, here's some dogs.
No! Oh, shit. No! Well, this is the thanks I get. I come home to this. He literally ate the door.
Oh my God.
Oh, Nawset. What did you do?
Excuse me? What are you doing?
What have you done? He broke the TV! No!
Ouch.
What did you do?
That is a huge thank you to Truth to Tweets who sent that to us. Thank you so much. And oh my God,
reminded me a little bit of my dog. My parents, I got my parents a puppy because their old dog died right when they bought a new house, and we redid we built the whole floors. We did all the floorings in all the room, and their puppy just picked one spot and just burrowed a hole right through the wood floor. Just said, I'm going to make a giant hole right here. And it was
I have to just knock on every wood because every once in a while Lucky will like chew on a part of a sheet or something, which freaks. I get so mad because our other dog did not do that, but that's like so minor in comparison to what you're talking about or all of that. I would lose my mind. I'd really lose my mind more than.
It wasn't my house, so yeah. And that was from Truth. The title, that was why Truth was on the end of that title. I wasn't sure, but you put it there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Truth to tweet.
Yes,
Cheers.
and I said, I mean,
oh, you said it? I never
said it. I did say it as
never listen.
It's okay. He don't ever listen to Lila. Okay, let's move on to this horrible man who has made the worst of the week for us. What, 3 times, 4 times now? But this should just be his section every time.
Yeah. This guy says all the
I don't think we're going to be able to play all of it, but we'll stop and start and show some other stuff, right?
Yeah, whatever works.
Yeah.
Whatever works.
All right. So just to set it up,
I know you've all been...
Bill Maher is about to talk about his time with Trump, and then there was some fallout from it. So we'll just play a little and keep going.
Waiting for, I'd like to give you my book report on my visit to the White House.
We slapped fair use all over it, hoping to save us.
But if it gets shut down, we're going to quickly restart. So just know we're coming back.
Okay. As you know, 12 days ago, I had dinner with President Trump, a dinner that was set up by my friend Kid Rock, because we share a belief that there's got to be something better than hurling insults from 3,000 miles away. And let me first say that to all the people who treated this like it was some kind of summit meeting, you're ridiculous. Like I was going to sign a treaty or something. I have no power. I'm a fucking comedian, and he's the most powerful leader in the world. I'm not the leader of anything, except maybe a contingent of centrist-minded people who think there's got to be a better way of running this country than hating each other every minute. So, thank you. Okay, so meet up in person. Maybe it'll be different. Spoiler alert, it was. First good sign, before I left for the Capitol, I had my staff collect and print out this list of almost 60 different insulting epithets that the president has said about me. Things like stupid, dummy, lowlife dummy, sleazebag, sick, sad, stone cold crazy. Really a dumb guy, fired like a dog, his show is dead.
All
60. I brought this to the White House because I wanted him to sign it, which he did.
So, like, right away, first of all, calls himself a centrist. It reminds me of all the people in the 90s who is like, I'm socially liberal, but fiscally conservative. And they're all, of course, like right-wing liberal Democrats, right? Like, that's who they are. But centrist is just, first of all, he's not centrist compared to the country. Second of all, to talk about like, oh, we shouldn't just yell at each other. What are you talking about? All he does is shit all over the left every chance he gets.
I mean, and to me, this moment where he's got this list of things Trump said about, like, if you showed me a list of things I said about you and I was like, oh, you're dumb, you're short, you're ugly, you're fat, and you're like, sign this. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, fuck yeah. Like, hello, that does not make me have a sense of humor or be
and
anywhere.
For that, he was called great. Bill Maher called him gracious. Yeah. And it goes on. I mean, it goes on and on about how, he laughed. He was polite when I told him people are scared of you. Like, all right, we'll go. But then I know, like, I think most people don't want to watch too much of this because it really makes us all vomit in our mouths. But just to give you a sense of what's happening.
Which he did with good humor. And I know as I say that, millions of liberal sphincters just tightened. Oh my God, Bill, are you going to say something nice about him? What I'm going to do is report exactly what happened. You decide what you think about it. And if that's not enough pure Trump hate for you, I don't give a fuck. Yeah. So no, I didn't go MAGA. And to the president's credit, there was no pressure to. After we left the Oval Office, he showed me the little room off the office, the one where Clinton used to...
this guy is so repulsive. I can't stand Clinton. Clinton's an asshole. He is a rapist. He deregulated and, ruined social welfare programs, all of that. He's a horrific, awful person. But for Bill Maher to do that right now when he's with Trump, who is doing so much worse than the blowjob in the office, he's just so vile, and he just likes being with, famous rich people.
You could have taken this moment and not normalized him and said, we discussed all these things, but everything he's putting out to the public in this entire interview is meant to make Trump a regular guy that's not the wacky guy. He's not the scary guy. This guy's okay. And you can't separate out what he's doing from the man. And that's what this guy is trying to do.
Like when people go to defend other people who have been their friends who have been charged with rape, they're like, I was in a room with him many times. He never raped me.
Yeah, if he's a rapist, why would he have taken care of my kid the other day? Or why did he pick me up when I was out in the cold and in the rain? And he picked me up in the middle. He helped me with a flat. He can't be a bad guy. Like, that's Bill Maher's. He's an establishment fucking hack piece of shit. And the fact that this whole well, the whole premise of this thing is like, hey, you dorks who are all saying we can't be sort of friendly with MAGA folks. Well, okay, let's pretend that we are looking at fascism, we are looking at Nazism, we are looking at eugenics, and you're out there going, let's normalize these guys, and that's fucking Bill Maher.
And by the way, I think we talk about this a lot, and I think a lot of people, there's a difference between regular voters who maybe even voted for Trump and the people in power. And that is, the whole premise of the show is punching up. I can have a conversation with anybody and hope to bring them over and find some good. And maybe we can start, not because I'm going to fucking get down on my knees and suck him off like Bill Maher, but because I will continue talking about the policies and the programs that I think will lift everybody up. And often that's appealing to people when you can talk to them one-on-one. Bill Maher doesn't want any of that. All he ever does is denigrate the left, talk about how we're radical, crazy people who are on the wrong side of things, and how we, just spoiled little brats talking about a genocide and why do you even care? But this guy, he's going to come have some peace with.
Yeah. And
Where just one, I feel like that deserves
less is more. Oh, that is a winner right there. I will drink to that.
Yeah, cheers.
But on the regular MAGA folks, like the people you reach in your real life, and you see around you, it's not rocket science how to connect to them. You want to connect to them as a leftist. You say, I hate fucking Joe Biden. I hate fucking Obama. I hate those people lied to you fucking too. And then you go from there.
Yeah.
Because that opens it up because they're so trained to believe what they've heard that we all love Nancy Pelosi.
Right.
And shit. So you break that down right away. And if you had someone with his stature saying that to Trump as well, that's a different conversation. But he's not having that conversation. He's having this is where the blowjobs happen. Oh, yeah. Look at the bad Democrats.
He's doing what the three oligarchs behind him, Trump at the inauguration did when they, Zuckerberg and Bezos and whoever, Sam Altman, moved from the Democratic, to they're centrist. All the good people, the best people are centrist.
Okay. The blowjob room. Okay. Well, not anymore. That's where they keep the merch now. It is. And he gave me a bunch of hats, but he didn't ask me to take a picture in one, which I appreciated. The guy I met is not the person who the night before the dinner shit-tweeted a bunch of nasty crap about how he thought this dinner was a bad idea and what a deranged asshole I was. I read it and thought, oh, what a lovely way to welcome someone to your house. But when I got there, that guy wasn't living there. Now, does Trump want respect? Of course, who doesn't? My friend said to me, what are you going to wear to the White House? I said, I don't know, but I'm not going to dress like Zelensky, I'll tell you that. But, okay. Just for starters, he laughs. I'd never seen him laugh in public, but he does, including.
That's all he needed. I mean, that's really it, right?
It's narcissism. It's just feed my
100%.
ego.
Yeah.
Your ego. Oh, you were a dick to me online, but you're in person. You were like, yeah, we're cool, bro. Like, what?
You're
That's
funny.
it.
You're gracious. It's all great. Anyway, it goes on like this. I think he gets in a few more jabs at the left, of course. Nothing about any of the actual fascism happening, not the deportations, not the, ridiculous tariffs that are decimating even more people. Like, right. It's just all a disaster. The other thing he did, of course, because this is what he does, is makes a comment about this is the guy who's saying we have to reach across the aisle and we can all be friends. I can be friends with Trump. What's wrong with you? You can't be friends with Trump? The same show with Douglas Murray. We won't have time to get into Douglas Murray, who's also a Nazi apologist.
Let's put a little time in. I'm going to go over it a little bit because we need to get to Douglas Murray because fuck that guy too.
All right.
The idiots with the Queers for Palestine T-shirts on. Those people. I saw that, Bernie Sanders and AOC going around the country now getting huge crowds. And I read that they were in Boise, Idaho, not exactly a blue state. And the crowd, but their crowd, of course, there's a very liberal crowd. And a chant of Free Palestine went up and pretty much stopped the show. So I kind of worry that that's where the Democratic Party is, that this is their next stupid hill to die on. Yeah. So the chant of Free Palestine, free from who, I would like to ask. Do they realize who is really the people who are enslaving the people of Palestine?
If those moronic people had any knowledge, they would say, free Palestine from Hamas. At the very least, they'd do that.
Yeah.
But so, number one, yes, and we always do because we use Case Study QB's clips pretty much every episode of every show we've done for 4 years now. So thank you, Case Study. But like, what a fucking ignorant, despicable thing to say.
Free Palestine from whom? I don't know. You've locked them up in your country for fucking 30 years. I'm thinking Israel and the United States. I don't think that's fucking rocket science.
And also for somebody who pretends to be at all knowledgeable about politics and not to see that everything that's happening in our country with free speech, with our borders, with our cops is modeled on what the IDF does or Israel does to Palestinians. Like, of course, and by the way, like so much of, Nazi behavior was modeled on the US's Jim Crow and, like horrific treatment of Black and Indigenous people in our country. Like, it's all related. It all comes back. How in the hell do you pretend that that's just something happening to other people over there?
And he's pretending it's other people over there while his whole shtick was anti-religion and all the damage that Islam can do to the world. So he's like the unreligious Zionist. And it's just like, that's the lane the Democrats are trying to occupy here.
Who last week cited the flipping Bible as why Jews should be allowed, or Zionists. I just did that. But because he said he said Jews should be allowed because of the Old Testament. Sorry, I do not conflate the two, but that's what he said, that Jews should be allowed to claim Palestinian land as their own because of the Bible. The guy who did Regulus or whatever the hell, his religion, like anti-religion.
But his anti-religion thing always included, but Christians are the better religion. which is so fucking weird.
Like Judeo-Christianity, that is our core, but Islam is the devil. And by the way, one of the reasons that, you know, as much as problematic as Ben Affleck can be, and you know, sometimes I know there are people also who feel certain ways about Glenn Greenwald, but both of them have been on, or were on at one point, probably never to be invited back again, Bill Maher, and absolutely cleaned the floor with him, because, you know, talking about what Christianity has never produced any violence. Like, what are you talking about? Read a fucking book, you racist moron. So go ahead.
Well, I just want to bring it back to Douglas Murray, that shitbag we just saw. He made the rounds because he went on a debate on Joe Rogan's show where
against Dave Smith, who's a libertarian comedian.
Yeah, and
who's Jewish. Sorry, Dave Smith is Jewish. Dave Smith, I don't watch any of these people, but the comedian who's a libertarian is Jewish, and he went on this. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, but we don't want to show the whole thing because I would kill myself if I had to watch it all. But we'll just look at what an arrogant prick this guy is. And this is on the Rogan show with the guy you were just talking about.
There was no deficit of goods coming in. I've been plenty of
times. There was no deficit?
No, there are plenty.
No goods were kept out.
There are plenty. How many? Have you been to the crossing points?
No.
When were you last there at all?
I've never been.
You've never been?
Well, am I not allowed to talk about it now? I've never been to. Have you ever been to Nazi Germany? Are you allowed to have feelings about them?
You can't time travel, but you can. Right. But you can travel.
Okay, but so what? So what's the point? Like,
no,
okay.
I find that
lots of people have been there and agree with me, and lots of people have been there and agree with you.
Yeah, but
so
if you're going to spend a year and a half talking about a place, you should at least do the courtesy of visiting it.
All right. I just think this is a non-argument.
You don't think?
Okay. No, I think it's a non-argument.
But if you're an
Well, you have to go and touch the ground.
No, I think you have to see. I think it's a good idea to see stuff, particularly if you spend a career talking about something. Yes, I have a journalistic rule of trying never to talk about a country even in passing unless I've at least been there.
Okay,
it's a sort of normal. It's a normal thing to do. You're talking about.
All right, I don't know where we cut that off, but it just goes on like that for another 2 minutes.
And as a reminder, no foreign journalist is allowed to visit Gaza unless you are being handheld and severely edited by the IDF. So you are going to be a propagandist for Israel's genocide. When he went, Mr. Journalist, he went in his press costume, because I don't think anybody considers him a journalist anyway, and sits in the chair that Yahya Sinwar was assassinated in, which is, I mean, it's just so disgusting and repellent on so many different ways. But there Sinwar was fighting for the liberation of his people. And that chair became a real symbol of, you know, hope and admiration amongst a lot of Palestinian people who were grateful for the martyrdom of Sinwar and for his fight for liberation. And there were tons of pictures of people posing in chairs as a sign of paying homage to Sinwar. And here's this asshole who's only there because Israel knows that that Douglas Murray is going to do their, you know, spin their atrocity propaganda for them, sitting in that chair like he's some reporter.
Of course. And that douche biscuit makes the rounds to Rogan and to Bill Maher, all because he's mocking a genocide with that picture and his whole story around it. That's it. So because of that, he gets to be some sort of journalist all of a sudden.
Like what's a journalist? And then, you know, and we don't even need to show this, but there was a whole compilation, because I don't know what that previous interview was from, where Douglas Murray is saying, I don't have to have been to a place to talk about it. I can read, just like you didn't go to Nazi Germany, you can condemn it because you've read, or I don't know if he has, a person maybe has read lots of literature and delved into, done research on a subject, you don't need to go to every single place you ever comment on. We would have no history departments.
Well, and as you said, journalists are not allowed there. So shut the fuck up. The fact that journalists are not allowed there and you were tells everybody enough about you. But then for you to get elevated to the liberal side, the centrist liberal side of Bill Maher, to mock openly a genocide.
And again,
unchallenged.
This guy, Douglas Murray, is a fucking white supremacist, Nazi, what's it called when you, not whitewash,
Apologist.
but apologist. Thank you. Look at that. Thank you. I needed that. This was from October or November in Jewish Currents. I think, no, was it Jewish Currents? Shit, sorry. I can't remember that seems weird that it would be from Jewish Currents because that's usually a little bit more on the left, but okay. Anyway, why must Jews watch their backs as London mobs cheer? He goes on to say, as I said after watching the Israeli embassy the other day, the unedited footage of the massacre, this is one occasion when saying that some people are worse than Nazis is not hyperbole. Average members of the SS and other killing units of Hitler's were rarely proud of their average day's work. Very few felt that shooting Jews in the back of the head all day and kicking their bodies into pits was where their own lives had meant to end up. Many spent their evenings getting blind drunk to try to forget. Nazi commanders had to worry about staff morale. When the war ended, the Nazis tried to pretend that Treblinka and other death camps never existed. Compare this with the behavior of Hamas.
Compare this to the Jewish media that over and over again is showing us troops out there celebrating, wearing the clothes of beheaded wives and family members and raped, just from the leadership alone, how much they clearly endorse a lot of this behavior. It's night and day, and to ignore that is just obviously, malpractice intentionally. I mean, it's Hasbara.
It is, but and I mean, obviously, Netanyahu has done this also, talking about how Muslim leaders in the 40s were worse than Hitler. Hitler didn't actually want to exterminate 6 million Jews. He was convinced to do that by some of the Muslim leaders. That kind of Holocaust denialism is something that people pretend to care about when they pretend to care about anti-Semitism. But here, Douglas Murray is talking about it, but, Netanyahu's welcomed him into his arms.
Yeah, and this is where the intersectionality comes into play, in that, look, we're talking about Palestine, but we're also talking about Bill Maher normalizing an administration who just approved a guy who has run tests on autistic people.
And wants a disease registry, Goebbels.
So Bill Maher should be pointing out these connections, because if he had someone on a mass scale pointing them out, it wouldn't be oh, we're going to survive this, the stock market bounce back.
Right.
It would be, holy shit, we can't let this continue. Let's put a wall up and stop it at this point, or this point, or this point.
Yeah, you call out fascistic behavior. You don't apologize for it because the guy laughed at your jokes. Cool. Yeah. Right. Anyway, that's the worst of the week. I am looking for, there were so many Israel slides that we had where they've just admitted, well, I don't know where they went. StreamYard. Anyway, it is late, but yeah, I mean, to apologize on any level for the Trump administration or the Israeli apartheid and genocide is beyond grotesque.
If the resistance is Bill Maher telling you that he signed a thing where here's a paper of jokes of Bill Maher, so he can't be that bad. That's the resistance we're getting. Yeah. That's the centrist resistance.
While at the same time, completely lambasting, Bernie, the Bernie left. as being like radical because they're anti-genocide, as bless you. You know, we all know that the ceasefire over and over has been broken by Israelis, and they every day that we all are seeing more children beheaded in pieces, being starved to death. It is a war crime. They are not allowing any aid in. I think it's been 6 weeks now, but at the same time, bombing tents and claiming it's Hamas. And Yoav Gallant was just on TV saying, we made up the thing about the Hamas tunnel under here because, you know, and was it Ben Gvir saying that we don't care about the hostages? They are going to pay the price for what we need to do, which is to flatten all of Palestinian, you know, where Palestinians are, and make it greater Israel.
That's why Bill Maher chose this moment to normalize, to remove Palestine from the centrist discourse best he could, because, you know, that's what really matters is having leftists not fight for Palestine. Like now that's the thing. Like why are you even having this? Why would you bring that guy on now is my question. Like there's so many things you can talk about. You're using your massive platform with HBO to say the left got to shut up about Palestine. Oh my God. Like that's your moment. Worst of the week, fuck him forever.
Yeah, seriously, fuck him forever. Just the most repulsive, disgusting person in the world. Okay. We are going out. I am looking because we weren't able to put this up earlier. So let me just get it because I want to make sure we get the details right before we go out on our one good thing. A reminder that we will not be here on Sunday. We will be back on Wednesday. We love you guys. Thank you. This is what we're going out on: a mass mobilization in Tangier and Casablanca. In Tangier, an estimated 1,500 demonstrators marched from the city center toward the port, denouncing what they described as Morocco's complicity in genocide. Protesters chanted "No genocidal weapons in Moroccan waters" and called for a full severing of diplomatic ties with Israel. In Casablanca, where protesters had already mobilized earlier in the week, demonstrators again attempted to reach the port in an effort to intercept the Maersk Nexo, I'm pronouncing that improperly, I'm sure. Both protests were organized by a coalition of pro-Palestinian activists, labor unions, and civil society groups. Security forces blocked access to port infrastructure in both cities. Long live the Intifada. Protest every chance you get. Cheers. Keep punching up. We love you guys.
Here.